Let me do my little introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today for another NMT Peer Mentors Tech Spotlight. With every Tech Spotlight, our goal is to provide incoming techies with an opportunity to get to know the faculty, staff, the departments, and organizations that impact student life on campus. My name is Victoria, and I'm an NMT Peer Mentor, as well as a senior in the Biology and Psychology department. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Lorie Liebrock, who is the Director of the Cybersecurity at New Mexico Tech. Dr. Liebrock, if you'd like to introduce yourself and go ahead and start.
Sure, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm really excited to welcome new techies to campus, and looking forward to actually seeing you on campus, mask and all. So you will, when you see me around campus for a while, it will probably look like this, right? With the New Mexico Tech faculty mask on. But I look forward to meeting you. And my role at New Mexico Tech started in the new role last year in July. I became the interim director, and now I'm the permanent director of the cybersecurity centers. We have two cybersecurity centers on campus. One is a cybersecurity education center, and that is a New Mexico Tech center. We also have a statewide center that was initiated by the governor, and that is the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence for Economic Development. My background, just to give you a little background, I came to New Mexico Tech in 2002, so I've been here for a while. I'm a faculty member in computer science, and I've taught a variety of courses. For more than 10 years, I taught the compiler writing capstone course. I've taught parallel processing, visualization, a number of cybersecurity courses, as you might imagine with my new role. And I really enjoy working with students. It's the reason that I came to New Mexico Tech, and it's probably the number one reason I stay at New Mexico Tech. If it weren't for the students, I'd leave. There are other fun things to do. So as part of this, I ask quite a number of my students to join me to be able to talk to all of you a little bit about some of the questions that I was told might come up. So before we go further, I'd like to just go through them and have them introduce themselves. I'm going to call on them in the order I'm seeing them in the participants list, so you have a heads up for getting your background ready and turning your camera on, because I'm asking all the students to turn their camera on for their introductions. Alec, would you start, please?
Hi, I'm Alec. I'm a, I guess, incoming grad student at New Mexico Tech in computer science, and and I guess I have a focus in like software engineering and web applications. Yeah.
And he's been a member of our Emulytics team for the last year.
Yes.
But you'll hear more about Emulytics a little bit later on. Shad.
Man, I didn't think I was going to be that far up on the list. Hello, I am Shattern Goodmanson. I have also worked in the Emulytics group for about a year, but am now on a Sandia research project. I am a senior in computer science and like cybersecurity, hoping to do my master's in cybersecurity.
He will.
If the program gets approved.
Yeah, it'll be there by then. Brendan. Brendan Wilson, sorry.
Yeah, I am Brendan. I am finishing up my bachelor's of IT degree this coming year. I also like to specialize in software. Cyber is sort of a close second for me, I suppose. I split my time primarily through Emulytics and then ICASA. It's a sort of research division that Tech has. I spend most of my time nowadays doing my ICASA stuff, but I also still do, I guess, consultancy for Emulytics every once in a while over the summer. So yeah, I think that's about good.
Good. Casey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Casey. I'm also one of the undergraduate researchers on the Emulalytics project. I'm going to be a senior in computer science, and I'm going to be doing a 5-year accelerated master's program in computer science. And this summer, I'm also working on the Sandia job with Shad.
Okay. Donovan.
Hello, my name is Donovan Jenkins. I'm sorry I don't have a camera. I loaned it to a friend and never got it back. I am approaching the end of my bachelor's, and I like to think I have a specialty in cybersecurity and software development.
Okay. Elijah.
Hey, my name is Elijah Aldinger. I'm a senior in computer science, and I'm a student at the University of Colorado, not at New Mexico Tech. And just recently this summer, I'm working with the Sandia team, doing that internship with Shad, Casey, and Roman.
Okay. Gilbert.
Hi, my name is Gilbert Carrillo. I'm an incoming junior and a bachelor's in computer science. I'm also a part of the Emulalytics group. I've been there for about 7 months. This summer, I'm currently in Colorado taking a Raytheon internship for cybersecurity. I've been doing a lot of software development and stuff like that for cybersecurity related reasons. And yeah.
Great. Kevin.
Hi there, my name is Kevin. I don't know where my academic level is anymore, but my major is information technology. I'm with the Emulalytics group. I'm one of the OG members from way back. So I've been with Emulalytics for over a year. I primarily specialize in computer hardware and computer network security. I do almost all of the infrastructure work for Emulalytics with Gilbert. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Owen Perkins.
So I'm a recent graduate. I just graduated with my master's degree, I hope, Dr. Liebrock, just this past May. My specialties is software development, sort of with a mix of exploit development and vulnerability analysis. You won't see him on campus, but you'll see Kevin and I bickering in Discord all the time.
Yep. I agree with that. Roman.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Roman Baca. I am the only junior electrical engineer in this chat. I'm working with the Sandia team along with Casey, Shad, and Elijah. I'm working on cybersecurity, and yeah.
Okay. And Spencer, I think, is the last one of my group.
Gotta save the best for last, right?
Yep.
I'm Spencer Merrill. I'm part of the Emulalytics group. I also, like Kevin, I don't know where I stand. I've been here for too long, doing IT, and I'm likely going to be doing the master's program in cybersecurity once that becomes available.
Yeah. Got a couple of them anyway. All right. So the reason I had all of them join you is because the Cybersecurity Center is a little different than the academic departments, and yet we have academic programs coming in. So what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is about protecting typically internet connected systems. You don't have to be internet connected. There are still vulnerabilities if you're not. But the hardware, the software, the data, all of that from cyber attacks. And so computing security uses cybersecurity and physical security to protect against unauthorized access for data centers, computerized systems, control systems, like things that pump our water and filter it and all of those sorts of things, the power production and distribution centers. And the ideas for cybersecurity or information security rotate around confidentiality, meaning other people can't access your data if they're not supposed to. Availability, you should be able to get to it whenever you need to. And integrity, to ensure that the data you think is actually there and no one has tampered with it. So that's kind of some of the basics in cybersecurity that provide a foundation for what we do in the cybersecurity centers. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why are we doing cybersecurity at New Mexico Tech? There's a huge demand and in high-paying jobs. And as you heard, not everyone is a computer science major. We have CS, we have IT, we have electrical engineering. Our new program is in integrating also policy and risk analysis and psychology. And there's also things in medicine. For example, we now have pacemakers that can be modified via Bluetooth or other near-field communications. And if that can be hacked, I can turn your pacemaker up or down, right? That's really scary. So all of these different disciplines and the challenges associated with them come together in an area we call transdisciplinary cybersecurity. So for example, understanding how you influence people and how you could use people's responses to your advantage, possibly their disadvantage, or vice versa, is a part of the transdisciplinary cybersecurity field, where we have to really look at these much broader issues than just computer science. So computer science, there's a lot of the foundations that come out of computer science, and the technical areas, many of them come out of computer science. But there are other very technical areas, such as in electrical engineering, where the global positioning system, think about what your life would be like and what things would stop functioning if we disrupted GPS. Worldwide destruction of GPS. Where would you be? Well, that'd be a pretty good question, right? Because as you go to travel anymore, how many of you actually carry and pull out and use a paper map? I would guess not many. But if you don't, you're relying on GPS. Our phone system, cell phones, all of those things, all are integrated with GPS to work well and to help and assist us in our lives. So if we can manipulate or disrupt global positioning, we can affect a lot in the modern society. So all of these different areas have a lot of exciting challenges and things that need to be kept secure. Cybersecurity and transdisciplinary cybersecurity in particular touches all of these and says you need to understand something about these in order to really help us be more secure in our environment. So because of that background and this huge need, we have 2 cybersecurity centers. The first one, as I said, was proposed by the governor. It's one of 4 centers of excellence in the state. We have one for healthcare, one for agriculture, and I'm trying to remember, I can't remember what the 4th one is. But the Cybersecurity Center was selected for it to come to New Mexico Tech. So we're working here on making New Mexico a leader for cybersecurity companies. So we want to grow more cybersecurity industry in the state. We also need to make our general companies, including things like the mom and pop diner down the street, more secure. They're almost all using a point of sale system, things like that. And if they're not protected properly, you can wipe out a business with one cyber attack. And there have been many businesses that have been wiped out because of cyber attacks. So we're doing outreach to companies and communities to help them understand their vulnerabilities and how to mitigate those vulnerabilities. In the New Mexico Tech Cybersecurity Education Center, we're doing outreach to K-12 students and teachers so they understand their vulnerabilities and the vulnerabilities their families face and how they can mitigate them, as well as helping them understand what opportunities this field of cybersecurity offers, whether they're interested, like Roman, in the electrical engineering and physical systems and control systems kinds of things, or more in the system software and hardware like Gil and Kevin, or hacking things. Owen's always having fun hacking things, right? So all of these different opportunities exist in cybersecurity, and one of the things that's important for students that are coming in to understand is that there are opportunities, even if your discipline is not computer science. It doesn't have to be CS. Happy with all of the ones who want to be CS. And you'll see in a little bit that we're working on bringing in some new programs that'll include a cybersecurity program at the undergrad level as well. But we're developing new programs for these high demand, high pay careers. We want them, of course, to be available in New Mexico. So these two centers have great synergy because as we grow the companies in New Mexico, they will need more employees. We need well-trained students to do that. And some of these well-trained students have interesting, exciting ideas for economic development and for starting companies, and we'd like that to happen in New Mexico. So overall, we're working to educate the workforce for a modern cyber-secure society, right? To help us all be more secure, and in some of our programs to help secure government infrastructure. So some of the opportunities, and I left off a really important one on here that I will add. But starting with, we have a cyber cafe. Right now, we're holding that 4 days a week at from noon to 12:45, Tuesday through Friday. We're probably going to cut back on that to 2 days a week. We haven't decided exactly what that schedule is going to be coming in the fall. We have CSE 189, a learning community where students coming in that just want to explore what cybersecurity is about can get involved in some hands-on introduction to cybersecurity and some basic ideas about how you would do research in cybersecurity. So they get to start with learning some basics, doing some hands-on learning, things like that.
You guys should definitely do the CSE 189. Not at all because I'm the one that helps teach it, but because it's really cool.
Yeah. There are also many cybersecurity technical electives. Every semester they vary. We have a graduate certificate in cybersecurity, and coming soon we'll have the Transdisciplinary Cybersecurity Graduate Programs. They're out to the New Mexico Council of Graduate Deans for approval right now, and then they will go to the Higher Education Department and finally the budget, basically the state's budget committee for approval. So those are pretty exciting. Another education related program that I didn't list here, it's sort of between education and research, and that is the Scholarship for Service program. Owen, for example, is a graduate from that program. That program is funded by the National Science Foundation. It just got renewed this last month. And what it does is it funds scholarships for students to do their academic program in something cybersecurity related, even if the title's not cybersecurity, and to develop skills there and then go into government service to help secure our national infrastructure. So the SFS program is continuing. That call for applications will come out shortly, I hope. I'm not the PI on it anymore, but I am still working with that program. So we should see applications come out soon. It supports the last 2 years of an undergraduate degree, or it supports a master's degree, or a combination of the two. It also has an option for supporting PhD students. So the Scholarship for Service is great because it provides funding. It's a cohort-based program, so there's a lot of interaction with other students that are studying other aspects of cybersecurity. Currently this fall, I'm still doing the professional development for that course, where we do hands-on skills, we do security audits, and a lot of other fun things like that. We have cybersecurity related research and development. So Emulytics, which you heard a lot of students mention, is doing research by collecting data from online writing web spiders, collecting that data, analyzing the data to see what you can use from it to better secure our infrastructure and to predict things that might be happening in the future. We have a new project that will be starting this month, yes. That's an enhancement for the Codebreaker Challenge project, which is an NSA sponsored program that's about actually code breaking. So they're really excited about getting students that know how to break codes for a variety of reasons, in part for being able to test codes and make more secure codes, in part for being able to actually break them. So we're working with them on the Codebreaker Challenge. We're also working with the DoD and the Economic Development Department on a cybersecurity maturity model certification program for New Mexico for our photonics companies, where we will help them get to a point where they can be certified to be contractors for DoD. Those are all research and development kinds of projects that are funded and have funded opportunities, as all of the students that talked about Emulytics have actually been funded to do research. And the Sandia students, that is a project where I have a summer institute here at New Mexico Tech that's funded by Sandia. And I work with the students to have them, right now they're doing development of some cybersecurity challenge competitions. And they've been doing great work on that. On outreach, we have opportunities there too for students doing outreach, development of outreach materials, going out and actually talking to both students and communities about either on the education side, the K-12, as I said, talking to them about what the opportunities are and what their risks and everything are, or talking to community members in the business owners in different areas about what they should be doing and what their concerns are in cybersecurity. On the outreach part, we get to take things like this out. This is a more complicated cipher wheel. Here is a simpler one. You get one that you can actually look at. You just rotate the cipher, and then once you align it, once you know what the alignment offset is, I can translate a message going from this character to this character, write that message down. I can send it to Owen. As long as he knows what my offset is, he can very easily decode it by just going the other direction. We have those in Braille. We have other versions that are a slightly different version where you do the alignment and it's got Braille on the edge. And there's a lot of variants of this. This one is a more complicated one that actually does more encoding, which is fun. So that's some of what we've been doing with outreach. We also do things like, I don't know if I can get it where you can actually see it. We have stickers for students. This one is, no matter how cute your dog's name isn't a good password. And the one on the back is, your birthday is not a good password. It's not unusual for people to use simple things like that as a password, and those are trivially broken. So some of the challenges and opportunities then are shown here about why you should care. These things are threats, but they're also opportunities for students to have a high-paying, fun, and exciting career where you get to do lots of fun things. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions from the audience or from our moderator and our students who are going to help answer those questions.
I know we have some students here who are part of the mentor program. Do any of you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that?
Hey, Dr. Liebrock,
Mm-hmm.
did you have more than just one slide on your presentation?
Yes, did they not share?
I'm on Linux, so
No.
maybe not.
Yeah,
I don't know why I caught that so late.
Just seeing the first slide.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
we've
just
been
says
stuck on something for a while.
Oh, great. Okay. So hold on.
Just wondering about that.
Yeah, it was when you said, and here are the opportunities, and I was like, oh, yeah, we're missing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I asked whether it was still showing correctly.
Well,
I
it was
didn't
still
think
showing the
about.
first slide.
Oh yeah, I was still showing the first slide, but
Okay, so
that
let
would
me
be
just
useful.
go back through the slides. Oops. I will just pop through the slides for you since it didn't work, so you can see what's on them, and it'll be part of the. Is that gonna work now? Let's see if it'll actually share now. Okay, you're back to seeing a slide. That's the title slide, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
There we go.
Now it's moving.
Okay, so this is what you were supposed to be seeing when I was talking about what cybersecurity is. And then the demand for cybersecurity and the many challenges and disciplines associated with it. And I was leaving some of them for you to read, which clearly you couldn't. So I apologize for that. I didn't realize that the slides were not showing. The 2 cybersecurity centers, which I talked about this stuff. So this is not a surprise. And then the set of opportunities. So I do apologize that none of that showed. I'm sorry no one called me on it sooner, but thanks for bringing it up, Owen. I appreciate it. And then
I love
why
that
you
slide.
should care. Okay. So any other questions? Adam Merrill joined us as well. He's also one of our NMT students that focuses on cybersecurity. You want to introduce yourself, Adam?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. My weird setup's working. Yeah, I'm Adam Merrill. I'm currently a graduate student working on my master's at New Mexico Tech. I joined the SFS program about 1.5 years ago now, I think. And I'm currently working at Sandia in their cybersecurity defenders, something. Their cyber intern group doing some fun stuff. Yeah, that's the one. Doing some fun stuff with their red team and some networking stuff.
Great. So does anyone have any other questions? If not, I think Victoria has some. I'm not hearing any other questions. Naomi or Victoria, do you have any?
Sorry about that. I was having issues with my microphone. So what's your all's favorite research that you've done with cybersecurity?
Ooh, volunteers.
I guess I can.
It looks like both Alec and I tried to jump in. Go ahead, Alec.
Oh, okay. Oh, I hear the cat. Actually, Shad and I both work on the same thing, at least on the surface. So, I guess we work on essentially determining prognosticators of an attack, which basically means someone who can identify sort of keywords or aspects of a cybersecurity attack before it happens. So we do a lot of like text analysis and like trend analysis to try to determine essentially if someone talks about something 6 months before it happens, you know they're probably a good indicator in the future. So you can look into their work with a lot of authority.
Shad, do you want to add anything to that? It may be yours is a different one. Maybe it's not that.
No, I was going to cover the research that we did in Emulytics because that's one that I've really, really enjoyed.
One that I really enjoyed that's not necessarily research, I guess, but the NSA Codebreaker I think is really enjoyable and really fun. It's kind of like it's a challenge where it starts you off really easy. So even if you know nothing about cybersecurity skills like hacking and looking at PCAP files and stuff like that, it starts you off easy and then gets incredibly difficult by the end. And so I really like that, and it's kind of a cool challenge to see. I've done it for the past 2 years now, and I can see the growth throughout there, which is really cool, because the first time I think I completed like 3 challenges, and then this last one I completed 5, I think. And so it's a really fun program, I think, to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to have Adam and Spencer compete to see who comes up with the greatest mini challenge for the Codebreaker enhancement work.
Ooh, that sounds fun. I look forward to that.
Sure, signed up for this.
Battle of brothers there.
You were voluntold there.
I guess I'm getting paid for it, so I can't complain.
Yeah. We can do that with both of you. You can get paid for it. So, anyone else have other research they want to talk about? Like maybe Gil and Kevin are interested in their infrastructure setup, which is not directly cybersecurity, but it's certainly in support of. Oh, okay. They don't like it that much. Okay.
I was
Anybody
waiting
else?
for Kevin.
I think
I
Kevin
actually.
is AFK right now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I actually really enjoy, so yeah, there was kind of like a last minute like research thing. Dr. Liebrock was like, hey, you guys should do an SRS presentation about what you guys do with the physical hardware for our research group. And just over the past 7 months, I've been working with Kevin on the physical infrastructure, and it's been a great experience, not only with just the physical infrastructure, but the stuff that we use to manage that physical hardware, like Rancher, for instance, which is actually helping me with my internship to this day. So yeah, it definitely is a very complex system. It's very like difficult to grasp, but it is an amazing system, and I really enjoy it.
So our students in the Emulytics group, and much of this was developed by Kevin with help from a staff member on campus and Gil, is basically an open source cloud infrastructure. So we have a whole suite of tools there for students to use, and a whole suite of tools that sort of make this infrastructure work. And it's all being run and maintained by undergraduate students, all undergraduate students at the moment, undergraduate students who are interested in learning about this stuff. So one of the things that I really wanted to get across by asking all of these students to join us was that you should get, whatever your discipline is, whether you're doing cybersecurity or something else, you should get involved with research early. It can help you figure out what things you really like, and in some cases figure out things you don't like, which is equally important, because when you go into your career at the end, you don't want to be going, well, I don't know really what I like to do or don't like to do. So the more experience you have, the better it is. Does someone else have research they want to talk about?
If there's no one else, I do have something else I could talk about.
Okay.
So I also do, for the outreach part of the cybersecurity centers, I write essentially this web application for it that essentially is used for the outreach to monitor who's been where, who's in charge of what, who knows who at what school. And that's all on top of essentially, I do all the database administration for that project as well. It's a really good learning experience that I got through the cybersecurity centers. Yeah.
And it's also gotten him an offer for graduate student support for the next year and a half.
Yeah, that one's also cool.
Yeah. So one of the things that does happen coming out of undergrads being involved in research is offers for graduate student support and recommendation letters for employment. Do you have other questions for us, Naomi? Needless to say, I'm excited about working with students. I ran my own research company before I came to New Mexico Tech, and I took a 50% cut in pay my first day walking onto campus. And I have never regretted it, because I came to a university And I came to New Mexico Tech specifically because there was something I was looking for, which was a balance between research and teaching student interaction. And while I don't teach a lot of courses anymore because of my position, I get to work a lot with students. And so right now, the more grant money I get to bring in more students. I'm happy, and I feel like I have more of a contribution because I get to impact more students that way. And so it's fun and exciting to me to see students grow and blossom and be able to do things that they didn't even think of when they started. And so to the extent that I'm able to help at all with that, I think it's great.
That is fantastic. So how can you tell us a little bit about your research company and how you went from that to tech?
So I did my PhD at Rice University, and it was in high performance computing, parallel processing. My dissertation was on how do you map complex topology problems. Think about the grids or arrays you would use to represent the space in a room if you were doing airflow in a building, right? I'd have a 3-dimensional grid for a room. I might have a 2-dimensional grid to represent the doorway that connects 2 rooms together, hallways, etc. So if you take a look at the flow throughout airflow throughout a building, and you're going to model the airflow, for example, for how COVID could propagate through the air system in a building, you need to simulate that on a high performance parallel computer. To map that onto a parallel computer is fairly complicated because the communication is adjacent cells, where adjacent cells could be in a 3D grid, a 2D grid, in some cases a 1D grid. And the research I did in my PhD was on doing that. I started my own research company because the Nuclear Regulatory Commission contacted me about one particular problem that my dissertation work didn't work well on, which was the AP600 nuclear simulator, nuclear reactor. And it didn't work well because they have very large grids that are 3D. They had very small grids that are 1D, like representing pipes or pumps, things like that. And it handled that beautifully, but it didn't handle the in-between things that were too big to run on a single processor and too small to distribute across all the processors. And so they contacted me and said, if you had your own company and you put in a proposal on this, we would really like to fund you to fix, because I'd written a paper that said, it doesn't perform well on this problem, and here's why, but I know how to fix it. And so they wanted to fund me to fix it because it's a problem that was very important to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So I started my own company. I did that. I did DARPA contracts and Nuclear Regulatory Commission contracts that were research contracts, which were fun, but I was primarily working alone, some collaboration with the funding agencies and things. But I wasn't doing what I got my PhD to do, which was to work with students. And so because of that, my husband and I was at a supercomputing conference. I met some folks from the Arctic Region Supercomputing Center in Fairbanks, Alaska, and was invited to apply for a visiting position up there. And my husband and I both applied, and we both went into the Department of Mathematics, Statistics, and Computer Science and went up there as visitors for a year. And our agreement was that if I liked being in academia, because he didn't think I would, he would retire and I could take us wherever I wanted to. And New Mexico Tech was the place that I chose based on a whole host of things. So that's how I got here.
That is fantastic and really fascinating.
Thank you.
So did you recruit all of these students, or did they happen themselves into the program?
I think it's a mixture. And in many cases, one of the things that I have done a lot of is more cohort-based programs, like the Scholarship for Service is a cohort-based program where there's a group of students. And I really encourage students to recruit students because, and that's why I wanted so many of them here, is because they, I mean, I try to understand what's confusing to a student and things, and where there might be a miscommunication because of assumptions. But I think that Gil, for example, is much better at communicating that to an incoming freshman about certain things that they might run into with their courses, or what the opportunities might be, and why a freshman might be nervous about applying for a research position. I think he can communicate that opportunity beautifully, as well as the rest of the students, right? But I'm just picking on Gail because his picture is up right now. So I think the students really communicate in a different way. And so while I love working with them and talking to them, and most of the students that I talk to one-on-one end up coming and joining tech / the cybersecurity centers, whatever, in some way. Roman, for example, came and participated in our cyber game jam in the fall last year, where we had a weekend game development competition for cybersecurity education games. And he came as an electrical engineer. That's where we first met. And then he applied to be in this internship program this summer. So I don't feel like I recruit all of them, but I try to recruit the recruits. So I try and get all of my group to help recruit other students.
We come to the program, but we stay for Liebrock.
Ooh, I like that. Who gets brownie points?
That was Adam.
I thought so.
So for each of you students, what was the strong draw coming into the projects, or sorry, coming into the center?
Yes, I can kind of share mine. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily like software development. And then I took the pre-SFS class, which is kind of like a introduction to the SFS program, and just really enjoyed doing that. And I found that that's kind of where my passion is, and that's what I want to do. And so I joined the Emulytics program because it's a very, it's a cybersecurity related project that is a lot of fun to do, and kind of, works alongside my passion of cybersecurity and doing stuff like that.
Something that brought me into the centers was in one of the lower classes, 101, some of the SFS students came in to actually talk to us about NSA Codebreaker. And they were able to help us break down some of the first problems in order to get into the meat of it and understand what was going on. And that was something that I never really expected. You hear about cybersecurity and it all goes immediately over your head when you start. But then you start to pick up little bits and pieces. And I was hooked, and I started doing cyber competitions and that sort of thing, and haven't stopped so far.
Now he's helping develop them,
which is so cool.
Don't get him started.
Really don't. We'll be here for far too long.
Yeah.
I think from an alternative perspective, I don't have an interest in cybersecurity so much, but I guess at this point, I think everyone would say I do. I just deny it. But I came in just because I code. I don't care about anything else. I just like programming. I don't really care too much when I'm programming. And on the surface, it was an awesome opportunity. And turns out it's a lot cooler. Cybersecurity isn't exactly like how it's made out to be a lot of the time. And I think that people look at it just like password security or making sure there's not threats on your machine, and there's so much more to it, and that's not something I really knew. I mean, I'd even been told once by a very misguided SFS student from a
Oh, you cut out.
Programming and
Oh,
no.
Gonna be the
Alex,
best part.
Alex.
No, go back.
Yeah, you got to go back. You were told by an SFS student what? You cut out.
Misguided.
Oh, I was told by an SFS student when I was a freshman from another school when I was doing an internship at the Air Force Research Labs that if I did cybersecurity or SFS, I would never touch code. It would only be other stuff, and that's actually what kept me away from cybersecurity for so long. And then I wandered into the project. Yeah,
you're doing cybersecurity masters. Gotcha.
You're gonna
code your life away.
My master's was a lot of coding. A lot.
Yeah, they were very misdirected, and I took that advice at face value, which was very bad advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason that the new cybersecurity programs are transdisciplinary, is because they are so broad. There's everything from strict policy. There are schools that are just about cybersecurity policy. All of these things that are up on the screen are part of it, right? Understanding how people do what they do and why is a very psychological approach to cybersecurity. If you're doing malware, you could be doing reverse engineering. You could be developing tools to attack any of these problems, right? Those are all coding challenges. You could be entirely focused on how do you develop systems that ensure that coders develop provably secure software, right? You don't think about that from the perspective of cybersecurity the way it was introduced to you, that it's about secure passwords and stuff. They're a piece of it. They're sort of low-hanging fruit, but there's so much more to it. And someone who just wants to code can be coding securely or insecurely. And if you're going to code insecurely, I'm going to growl at you.
It's happened.
Yeah, occasionally.
You, Alec? No. You wouldn't.
Also, to kind of build on that, it's also, you don't have to do a lot of coding too. There are like certain aspects of it, like kind of the reverse engineering. That's not, I wouldn't say that's coding. That's more looking at.
You have to understand code to do it, though.
Yeah.
You have to understand it, but you don't have to write code necessarily.
Yeah. Which is kind of, like when I went into it, I was thinking I wanted to be a software developer, and then I discovered cybersecurity, which is kind of, it's not I wouldn't classify it at all as software development. It's more a lot of other skills that, you need to know coding to do it, but it's not necessarily all just sitting there writing code for someone.
Yeah, there is a huge variety in the breadth of opportunities and needs in cybersecurity. And so students don't have to code, or they could completely be doing coding all the time, or they could be doing something totally different, like studying and doing user studies on how people do things and how do you influence the way they do things, getting them to do the right things instead of things that put them at risk. There's just a wide spectrum of what goes into cybersecurity and what the opportunities are.
That's really, it sounds like a really awesome field to be able to get into.
I think so. I wish I had ever taken a class in it. I teach them, but I have never taken a class in cybersecurity.
That's so funny. Huh.
Well, it's a lot of reading and trying things out and working with brilliant students who go, oh, no, that's not going to work. This does. Right. And then poking at them going, no, you're wrong. That's doing something different. So it's a lot of experimentation, a lot of fun. And there are opportunities at all levels in cybersecurity, from simple certifications that don't require a higher education degree at all, to PhD level research topics that are amazingly complex. So there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So for our incoming students who are with us, do you all have any questions for Dr. Liebrock or for the CS students?
Cybersecurity students. They're not all.
I'm sorry, cybersecurity, my bad.
That's all right.
That's what the CS stands for, right?
I resent being cybersecurity. Just got to get that out there.
You are, but you just resent it. I know. How can you start? Great. So that's a terrific question. Let's start with, you can take the CSE 189, Introduction to the Cybersecurity Learning Community, is one of the good ways to start. Stop into the Cybersecurity Center when you're on campus. Are you going to be, Brandon, are you going to be physically on campus, or are you going to be doing distance your first semester? So I know we have some students that may be doing distance. Physically there. Okay, great. So stop in and see us. The Cybersecurity Center is on the first floor in Kramer Hall. Our student workroom is going to be right across the hall from us. We have a very large room that will be set up for all of our student workers so they can work while being socially distant from each other, physically distant from each other, and protected and all of that. Certainly join the Discord chat as well. The nmt.edu/cybersecurity is the website for the cybersecurity centers. Our Discord and Facebook and all of that stuff is linked there. So you can, or Kevin and Owen both just posted invites to it. So you're welcome to join us. There's discussion that goes on there all the time. And if you have questions, come in and see us.
And if for somebody who's specifically looking to get into cyber, there's a lot of competitions out there. You're not always going to be productive at them. Owen, Spencer, and I were just recently in a qualifier for a CTF at DEF CON and got absolutely destroyed. We got 2 challenges out of 30 or so done. But we learned a lot. And there are more basic entry-level CTFs that you can do that will allow you to learn a lot.
So for example, the interns right now that are working on the Sandia, there's this New Mexico cybersecurity competition that's going on right now. I think it's already, they're doing signups yet, right?
I think they're still up until Friday.
Which one are you referring to?
Are you referring to GetSket, right?
GetSket, yeah.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah. I think it should still be open till Friday. Pretty sure.
For
Last
new
day.
registrations?
They're keeping it open an extra week. So that is specifically targeting like high school students. And these guys can't talk about it too much because they're actually developing the questions and challenges and all of that, as well as the training materials. But they can give you overview of that. And can one of you find the link to the application and post it in the chat?
I'll grab it.
Thanks.
Also going off that, join the cybersecurity club, assuming that I'm still in charge of events next year, depending on how elections go. I think I'm going to try and do a lot more CTS and kind of get that more involved. That's a great way to learn, and yeah, we have a lot of fun in there. At least I think so.
Yeah. So Owen posted a good point. They had just won KernelCon CTF, so which was KernelCon is a hard competition as well. So it just depends on the specific questions versus things you explicitly know. You can do terribly in one. Don't let that get you down. Just go try the next one because it'll be different. And every time you do one, as long as you try to learn something from it, you come out ahead. I
have a word of advice for the incoming freshmen.
Yes.
The early classes are not what you should expect from doing cybersecurity or even computer science, but they're important to it. Like, they're good intros, but they're going to be a lot harder than some of the later classes. So don't get discouraged if you have a hard time or it's not exactly what you want to be doing. It's unfortunately, sometimes it's just something you have to push through at the very beginning to make it through to the cool, interesting stuff that you 100% want to do.
But
And
there are opportunities, even in your first semester when you're taking those semi-boring classes where you can get exposure to really cool topics, such as cybersecurity.
Yeah, and also I want to add on, I don't know that they're boring so much as they are, at least historically, very difficult, although there is a hope to change that so it's not a nightmare for the students anymore.
So one of the things that Alec, I think, is talking about, and Kevin, is our Intro to Programming class in computer science has traditionally been known to be a very difficult class. In fact, we've had graduate students take that class that were non-majors and say it's the hardest class they had taken while doing their master's degree. And part of that, my explanation for that, and what I used to say to people when I was department chair, was that in many disciplines like chemistry, you spend years memorizing foundational material where you memorize this big chart, that you memorize these chemical processes. There's all that kind of stuff that is a lot of memorization, but as long as you work on it, you can get there. It's not that hard to do. In computer science, on day one, we ask you to take a language you've never seen before and solve a problem you've never heard of before. You don't do problem solving in chemistry, typically, until you're like a junior or senior, that you're doing things you've never done before, right? And that makes the computer science discipline a very hard, steep learning curve for that beginning point. So students coming into computer science, and we're having discussions with NMSU, working with them on an undergraduate cybersecurity degree as well as the graduate ones that are on my list. Those programs will be a little bit different, but you're still going to have to understand some of those foundations. So yeah, some of them are pretty challenging. We do have help for students, and that's one of the things. Discord was mentioned here for the cybersecurity Discord, but we also use Discord for all of our courses now for discussions among students and places to get help. And this year, we're starting a pair programming, and we've separated the Intro to Programming to two sections, one for students that don't have any or don't have much experience with programming, and one section that's for more experienced programmers, so that you can get more of the help at the level that you need it. And so I think that's going to make things better for incoming students. Not that the material's any easier, but the fit is better between pair programming, which has been shown to really help students that are struggling a little bit when they're working one-on-one with someone else and discussing what they're thinking, really clarifies coding. I don't know how many times I have been trying to debug something and I just go to explain it to somebody else. It's like, oh, that's what's wrong. I completely see what's wrong. And it's not the other person that tells you, it's you trying to explain it to someone else often will enlighten you about what is wrong with the code. So that's
the rubber ducky effect.
Yeah. That's why I have a rubber ducky for Kevin. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Wrong
I'd say
Kevin, by the way,
especially-
not Kevin H.
K1.
K1, that's right.
I'd say especially, for the freshman year in computer science, I think getting help is the best thing you can do to succeed. That's going to allow you to, learn what you need to learn and move on with the degree program.
Yeah, I know at least in my year, there was a lot of people, myself included, that had difficulty because they never really had to ask for help before.
Correct.
And
yeah,
so they had a hard time coming in and asking for help. But just do it. It's not worth the headache and the difficulty that you go through when somebody who has been through that can help you with it. And they can explain it in a different way.
And from a student who has struggled very heavily with some of the intro level classes and learning some life lessons, do not be afraid to ask a lot of questions. I mean, these people know this stuff like the back of their hand, especially people like Owen. And so if it takes 5 or 6 explanations for you to get it, they will make that opportunity for you.
Yeah, and people like me love to help people, so it helps us, it helps you guys, and it's never a bother. Don't ever think that.
Yeah, and in particular, we love helping new students because there are a lot of things that don't make sense at your first pass. And so being there for that aha moment when it finally clicks and it does make sense for the first time is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite experiences.
It sure is. It's the reason I'm still at Tech.
And when your fellow students can help you succeed in that, it not only encourages the person who is helping you, but you as well. Because when you feel like you can get it, you start to be able to move forward into more advanced subjects. And suddenly you've just taken off into some direction and you've really start to found something you're passionate with.
I think that kind of has happened to you, hasn't it, Kevin?
Many, many times.
We've had to tell them to back off a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
Get them a leash.
I always love pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Another thing. Oh.
Go ahead, Alec.
Oh, sorry. I would say another critical thing that is very rampant in computer science specifically, because to me, it's a major that like has immediate results, whereas a lot of other majors you don't know till the test. If you struggle with something or you do exceptionally better than other people on figuring something out fast, do not compare yourself to any other students. You are you, they are them. I think the most toxic thing you can do, especially starting, is basically look at other students that are succeeding and go, I can't do this, I'm out. Because the reality is that everyone has a different background and they have different things they're good at. Some people are naturally good programmers, some people are not. And the reality is that you have to push through that to essentially become a good programmer, even if you weren't to start with. And it will happen if you push with it.
Exactly.
And that's true not just for computer science, but for all disciplines. So in transdisciplinary cybersecurity, there are going to be parts of it that are hard for you because they're not what comes naturally to you. There are going to be other parts that you're like, wow, this is easy. I love it. For me, parallel computing was just, I love it. It is so fun. And I've had so many people that struggle with, well, how do you even think about all these processes and what they're doing in parallel? It's like, well, it's obvious. It's not. I understand it's really not, but it feels obvious to you, right? So there will be something that really gets you excited and you can find that opportunity.
Another suggestion that I would make is just like something that I did the summer before I started Tech was I went online and looked at a Python tutorial and just kind of started teaching myself Python. That kind of gets you in the groove of, just go as far as you can. They'll kind of teach you the basics of programming, and there are a lot of good tutorials out there that, start from the very beginning. What is a coding language, and that's kind of a good way to get a sort of jump start, I think, especially for a lot of those early classes where it's teaching you, the basics of programming. You can kind of, get a jump start, and, if you don't understand something, then you can take that to the class and maybe get a better explanation there.
Exactly. And that expands beyond programming as well, because when I started at Tech, I had never really written code in my life. I didn't know what a for loop was. I would be completely lost given a command line only system, which now is like my preferred environment. That's what I love being in. And I can just really get things and accelerate with that. Whereas, a couple of years ago, I would have been afraid to even touch something like that.
So I'm wondering what incoming majors we have, because these guys are all talking about computer science or IT, but cybersecurity, as I've said, is much broader. So what other disciplines are in our group of students that are coming in that are online with us? If you put it in the chat or just unmute and let us know, I'd appreciate that. Justin and Brandon, Anthony is a guest. Mujib, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. CS, maybe with a minor in IT. Okay. Hopefully a focus in cybersecurity. All right. Mujib, what is your major coming in? Comp Sci. Okay, so we have computer science majors. So you guys are fine. You're not pushing away other students who maybe aren't doing CS or IT, but are interested in cyber. So the other thing is just stop in and see us. If you're coming in and you're interested in getting involved, quite a number of my outreach students that are going out and doing outreach to K-12 and on the economic development side were freshmen this year. One of them was a freshman who had never done a cybersecurity competition and didn't have any background in cybersecurity, but was really interested. Turns out she is fabulous at doing outreach to K-12 students and has done a bunch of videos for us that are going up on our YouTube channel. And many of the other students are great as well, but they had a little bit of background by doing competitions and stuff. So stop into the centers if you're interested in getting involved. Yeah, in the course, if you're talking about the intro course, it is in C. The first course is entirely in C. We have a Python course, but the required course is C.
Regarding YouTube channels, I know there's got to be some guys that we all have used at one point or the other. I can't think of any off the top of my head, though.
Code Academy does a pretty good job. I don't think they have anything for C as far as I'm aware, but they might.
Yeah, sometimes it really depends too. Like, I recall watching YouTube videos not so much about the semantics of the language, but concepts. Like, I remember when I was learning AVL trees and red-black trees, again, it was just like that was the kind of information I needed, not so much how to implement it.
So we're over on time, and I think it's time for us to wrap up. Thank you, Naomi, for calling my attention to it, that we need to be wrapping up. So I think I'd like to just remind everyone that if you want to reach out to me, here's my contact information. We'll be looking for new students for outreach and for other opportunities in cybersecurity. So come join us, talk to any of these folks about getting involved in research, what it's like to be at Tech. If you need help on something, they've probably been there, done that, one of them at least, and they can probably point you in the right direction, or at least get you in touch with the right person to get help. So main thing one of the other students said was, don't be afraid to ask for help. All of us need help at times, and it's one of probably the biggest challenges students face is not asking for help when they need it. The sooner you do, the better off you are. And at some point, we're going to do a session maybe on how to be a great student, because there's been a number of my students that I've gone through one-on-one sessions on how to be a better student. What do you need to do to be really successful? And so, and it will include how to ask for help.
Can I sign up for one of those classes?
Yeah, I'd also like to get that advice.
Like a refresher.
Can I take a grad level?
Their post-grad version.
All right, I want to thank both Victoria and Naomi for setting this up and hosting this for us. This has been fun talking to some of the incoming students, although I would have liked it to be more interactive with those students. So in the future, when you come in to see me, you have to be ready to talk to me. I promise I don't bite new students. No promise.
She waits a year or two for that.
Yeah.
She's not as threatening one-on-one.
Are you sure? I think she's more threatening.
He probably
Unless
signed an
she's
agreement
growling
to
at
say
you.
that.
Yeah, as per my paycheck states.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Victoria and Naomi, and thanks to all of the students that came today, both the incoming students and my students, even one that's graduated, coming back and saying hi. So thanks everyone, and
Yes.
have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Liebrock. Thank you, all the students also, and any of the mentee students. If you all have any questions about any of the students that we talked about, Dr. Liebrock, you have her email, but you could also ask your mentors, and we can get you into contact with any of the students or Dr. Liebrock.
Okay. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.